For Tuesday, September 14th. As we always do, we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First up, we have Police Chief, quarterly report. Or do you want to do the appointments first?
I can do the quarterly report if that's okay with you.
Okay, sure. Come on up. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you all for having us here tonight. We have quite an agenda, so I'll make sure I go through this as quickly as I can. So the quarterly report, I'll go through some notable incidents that have taken place since we last met. First was an incident up at the Preserve where officers responded for a report of an assault with a firearm. Officers responded very quickly, and upon their arrival, we were able to interview some witnesses and obtain necessary information relative to the suspects involved in that incident. Through investigation and in collaboration with the Brockton Police Department, they were able to locate the individual in Brockton and take him into custody without incident. So it was a successful end to that incident. Next, we had an incident where a large number of landscaping equipment was stolen from a business on South Street. The business has been victimized in the past several times, so detectives began their investigation, and through review of surveillance video, were able to locate a suspect that was actually wanted in a number of thefts across the Commonwealth. So as a result, search warrants were executed, and property was recovered, a large quantity of property, which actually had multiple victims from across the Commonwealth. So it was a very successful ending to that as well. So we were able to get a lot of stuff back to these business owners, which was a big deal. And finally, and sadly, we had a fatal pedestrian crash on East Street near Blessed Sacrament Church. An elderly woman was crossing the street relatively near the crosswalk and was unfortunately struck by a passing motor vehicle and ultimately passed away of her injuries. Our crash reconstructionist, Detective Foley, worked closely with the District Attorney's Office to investigate that incident, and was able to, unfortunately, it resulted in some charges of the operator of that vehicle. Unfortunate situation all around. Our thoughts are certainly with the victim's family in that incident. It was very sad and trying for everybody involved. Statistically, we had 4,584 calls for service since during this quarter, with 26 arrests. Our overdose numbers were increasing slightly, unfortunately. We had 22 total overdoses this year, with 4 fatalities, unfortunately. Our detective unit still continues to investigate where these drugs are coming from and work to disrupt those distribution networks, but also provide outreach to the victims that have survived these overdoses by offering services and various options to the family through court options as well for Section 35 and things of that nature. So they're providing the outreach to make sure we're reaching out to the victims and getting them the help they need. Mental health calls are still in line with where they were last year. We're about 450 calls, mental health related calls this year, 149 this quarter. We had 611 overall in 2020, so it looks like we're on the same path as we were last year, and a lot of it is pandemic related and things of that nature. Our officers are all CIT trained. A lot of them, almost the whole entire department is, so we've had those officers respond to the majority of these calls, which has been very helpful. And we also have a good working relationship with Riverside Community Care to provide some help to these folks as well. Home for Little Wanderers, Longview Farm. We had 253 calls up there so far this year. This time last year we were around 231, so about the same. We continue to have a great relationship with them. Officer Van Ness and Officer Bird, who are both actually here tonight, do a tremendous job with them, building relationships, sharing information, and we've made tremendous progress with that school, and I'm very happy to report that that's going very well. Community policing related, again, back on Longview, Officers Van Ness and Bird continue to work up there. We actually did a ride to school for a student who had the pleasure, or I should say displeasure, of probably cleaning out my car. She asked, she's very into detailing vehicles, so I brought my cruiser up and she went through it and did a phenomenal job. She was great. So she got a ride to school from one of our officers, actually Officer Hart and Rebel and the whole gang, so it worked out pretty good. And that same student actually attended our junior academy this year, which was great to see. She had a ball. And Officer Van Ness was integral in making sure that happened, and got her to and from there, and did a lot of great stuff. And actually, while she was there, she celebrated her birthday. So Officer Van Ness made sure that she had her birthday celebration appropriately. So it was really nice to see. It was good. We went to all the school field days at the end of the year. We had officers on bicycles up there interacting with the kids and participating in the events, which was always a good time. We attended the Council on Aging Spring Fling, which was always good to see the seniors. They had a ball. We had a ball as well. We helped out with the Walpole High School graduation parade, which was a huge success again this year. Great turnout. It was a really good thing for the community, so we were very pleased we could be a part of that. We attended a Juneteenth celebration on the Common this year, which is the first time we've had that. Lieutenant White worked closely with Shantae Holmes from the Multicultural Book Initiative to make that all happen. So we were very happy to be at that event. That was a great community event as well. We started to do a cookout with a cop event up at Cricket Lane this year. That worked out great. We have a bunch of our guys go up there on a Saturday afternoon, and we cooked burgers and did all that stuff. Met some of the kids up there. It was really a good event. We have one scheduled for the preserve as well, but it got postponed because of the weather, so we're looking to reschedule that. And then we went to the Bird Park events, ice cream socials, Al Fresco Fridays. We were participating in all those events and being out there as well, so it was nice. In terms of our grants that we've had this year, EOPS had a municipal road safety grant, which allowed us to conduct some drive sober or get pulled over campaigns, click at a ticket, speed enforcement, and distracted drivers. So we were able to get our officers out there on a grant to enforce these vehicle infractions and try to keep the motoring public safe while using grant funding, which was nice. So, and we also had a address verification grant through the Sex Offender Registry Board. We verified all the addresses of our sex offenders in town. So that was it was good to get that done too as well on a grant. Accreditation update, we're still working towards that. Lieutenant Zangetti, our accreditation manager, has been working extremely hard to make sure all of our policies and procedures are updated, which we did. Also, when we were updating because of police reform, we made sure we were in line with accreditation. That's kind of a work in progress. We have drug destruction, which is ongoing. Detective Kevlich, who I believe is here, is working very hard to get our drugs destroyed. We have a lot of old drugs from years ago that are still in the evidence room, so we're working to get that squared away. They take about 200 cases at a time. We just have our first burn date coming up, so that's exciting to get some of that stuff out of the evidence room. And once that's squared away, we'll be well on our way to accreditation. It's the only thing that really is holding us up at this point. A little update on post. We have to have all of our officers' internal affairs documents in by September 30th. There's some talk that might be postponed because of the infrastructure with post. They're trying to get their IT stuff set up and have a brick and mortar place for them to operate out of. So that's all kind of a work in progress, but we're prepared, ready to go. There's an email address that they had set out so we can start sending things into them. And we'll just wait to see further updates if that's going to be postponed or not. Finally, we had some personnel promotions and assignments and things of that nature. After 36 years of service with the department, Detective Timmy Songen had retired in August. And then as a result, Officer Pat Moriarty has stepped into Timmy's role as our juvenile detective. Pat does a tremendous job. He's currently the mentor at the tech schools in town, so he's very well versed with the juvenile related issues, so we're happy to have him on board. And also, I don't think Officer Thayer is here tonight, but John Thayer was assigned to be a provisional sergeant for a period of time while Sergeant O'Connell was out on an off-duty related injury. And I just can't say enough about how good of a job John did stepping up as a provisional role. It's not easy to do that, especially when you're a patrol officer and the next day you're a supervisor. And he just stepped right in and did a phenomenal job and really stepped up to help the department in a leadership role, which was invaluable to us. And it was a great experience to him. So he's back. Sergeant O'Connell's back to work now, and John's back on the road, but great attitude and did a great job. So I'm very proud of him, and I'm happy to see how good of a job he did. So with that, that's all I have for the report. If there's any questions or issues or comments or anything.
I'll open it up to questions. Glenn?
No, I'll just open it up by saying thanks to you, because this is your first quarterly report to us, and I appreciate you stepping into the interim chief role. You've obviously embraced it, and you're accomplishing a lot already. So thanks for that. One thing I just want to ask you is, do you have any insight into what the biggest challenge facing the community now is? I know you mentioned ODs, or concern, or, mental health illnesses in cases, but what concern kind of,
It certainly is the mental health
Yeah.
calls. They're increasing, and it is a lot. They're time consuming, and they demand a lot of our department. We're very fortunate to have all of our officers trained, almost all of them, except for some of our newer ones, in CIT, which is crisis intervention. So we're fortunate to have a department like that can address that problem. It's an increasing problem everywhere. So, and we have to handle that appropriately, because if we don't, then the folks that are suffering through a mental health crisis may not get the help that they need from us, and that it could be just detrimental to them as well. So in my opinion, that is one of the biggest issues we're facing right now. Obviously drugs are an issue, but the mental health stuff is certainly going to be at the forefront, and will continue to be in the foreseeable future, in my opinion.
Sure, I appreciate you focusing on that.
I have nothing further. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just want to say congratulations to Timmy. Well deserved, well deserved. Long employment, and good luck in his future endeavors. And then congratulations to everyone else who moved around as a result. Really nice.
Jim?
Yeah, same here. Just congrats to everybody who got new opportunities, and thanks for being here tonight, doing your first quarterly report. Nice job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate
So
it.
I would just like to comment, I agree with all the comments that have been made, but I'm a big believer in community policing, and I'm always interested in hearing, whether it's from you at a quarterly report or on Facebook or some other way, all the activities and interactions between the officers and the citizens, the kids, the business owners. I think it's great. I think it's really important. And I'm glad to see that you're out there every day doing that. And not only doing that, but doing everything you have to do that day as well. So I know it can be hard at times to schedule events and be there when you have so much going on. But I think it's really important to the town and the citizens, kids, and business owners. So thank you.
Thank you. I think all of our officers enjoy that as well now. We've all bought into the new way of policing, and I think it's certainly not, it's not even a burden. It's something that we all enjoy doing, so it makes it that much better.
And I was glad to hear you guys go around now on a roadshow and cook burgers for people. So that's
Sounds
kind of
great.
interesting.
Yeah, I want to get into that.
We do it all, sir.
We
try.
You want to introduce your candidates?
I would love to. Thank you. So would you like me to go one at a time, or how would you?
Let's go one at a time. We'll give them a chance to come up and just have a couple of minutes if they
Okay.
want to say anything. We've read the packets, but if there's anything you'd like to add, that'd be great.
Okay, sounds great. So our first candidate tonight is Caleb Nix. Caleb's a native of Canton, Massachusetts. He was a self-sponsored candidate through the 3rd Municipal Police Officers class out of the Cape Cod Municipal Police Academy. Being a self-sponsor takes a lot of responsibility and a lot of drive to do that on your own, to not only put yourself through, but to know you want this job bad enough to do that, and that was certainly impressive to us when we met him. He was currently employed by or was before he came here, the Bridgewater State University Police Department. He was only there for a very short time, but his supervisors and everybody that we spoke to down there spoke very highly of him, and they were happy for him, even though they were sad to see him leave, happy for him to get an opportunity in a community like Walpole. So that was great to hear as well. Prior to working at Bridgewater State, he was a community service officer up at York, Maine Police Department during the summertime. He comes from a family of law enforcement officers. His father's actually a member of the Canton Police Department. After we spoke with people in his references and his backgrounds, it's clear that he's wanted to do this his entire life, and he's dedicated himself to becoming a police officer. We were also impressed by his community service. He volunteers at a local church. They hold various community events, and he also volunteers at the Pappas Rehabilitation Center and does their Special Olympics. So again, we're very community oriented, as we all know, and it seems like from meeting him and seeing his background, he certainly is going to step right in and be right in line with our values and our mission. So without further ado, Caleb.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Caleb Nix. Chief Taylor will just give a great summary of everything that I've done so far up until now. Can't thank you enough for the opportunity to work for the town of Walpole and the Walpole Police Department. Coming from Canton, it's not too far away, so I've heard plenty of the things that have gone on in the town, and I'm just grateful for the opportunity to become a part of it, to bring what I can to help just carry along everything that's great that's going on in the town. Just continue going in the direction that it is, just bring everything that I can to help that.
Great. Does anybody have any comments or questions for Caleb? I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to appoint Caleb Nix to the position of Walpole Police Officer.
Second?
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Second, we have Robert Pimentel. Robert's a native of Townsend, Massachusetts. He attended Westfield State College, and he earned his bachelor's degree in psychology with a minor in criminal justice. Robert worked down in Wellfleet as a community service officer while he was still in college, and then returned to be a part-time officer until he attended the Plymouth Police Academy, where he graduated in 2019. He returned to that agency as a full-time law enforcement officer, police officer since that time, and he's also a certified instructor, physical training instructor with the MPTC, which is, for a young officer that's been on only a couple of years, that's quite a feat to be asked to come back to be an instructor, so we were certainly impressed with that accomplishment. It speaks volumes about his work ethic and attitude, and everybody that we spoke to during his background investigation had reiterated the same thing. So we were excited to bring him on. When we interviewed him, he was very community-oriented and understood the importance of engaging the community. So we're very excited to have Robert here tonight. So, Robert, come on up.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, Board. Just want to say thank you for the opportunity to allow me to work for this great town, and I look forward to getting to know the community more, to every day getting to know them more personally, and making them more of my family. Whenever I visited Walpole, it just seemed more as a place for me to establish and call home, and I look forward to doing that and spending a good part and hopefully more of my career here. So, thank you.
Great. Any questions or comments?
Welcome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to appoint Robert Pimentel as to the position of a Walpole Police Officer.
Second?
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Congratulations.
Thank you very
Welcome.
much.
And if you don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting, but if you'd like to come up on stage and have a couple of photos taken, that would be great too, or you can do photos outside, either way.
Yeah.
Would you like it to stand?
Usually you stand
Just
facing
stand.
the crowd, and then,
Okay.
you know,
And they just-
hopefully they have the cameras.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Congratulations. And as I said, you don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting.
Yeah, no.
Mark, we've had good luck with people with Townsend ties anyway, so. The last person you hired from Townsend.
Was you?
I didn't even mention the Walpole Canton sports rivalry, so I was good. All right, next up we have Chief Bailey with the Fire Department quarterly report. Welcome, Chief.
Thank you to the chair and the board. Let's see. So the last time I was here was on June 15th. The data that I'm going to give to you is from the beginning of the year as opposed to the quarter, and I will explain as to why. So emergency runs 2,945, inspections and permits 2,702, total calls for service 5,647. Our emergency call volume has gone up by 511 calls to date from last year, which was our high year. Our call volume continues to rise at an alarming rate. I don't have any explanations for it. It's just the calls come in and we answer to them. So I just want the board to be aware that things are definitely on an uptick and not slowing down. Last year we did 3,600 runs for the year on the emergency side. This year we're slated to do almost 4,200 emergency calls. We're operating still out of both stations. Station 2 has 4 firefighters down there, and we have 5 firefighters working out of the center station uptown. The ambulance account has a balance of $2,091,196. I'm going to be coming before the board just after the first of the year for another discussion on a possible rate increase. The last time I did it was 2 years ago. It was a year ago, March, that it was approved. The rates are usually set and recommended to us right after the first of the year from our billing agent, once the Medicare rates are set. So I'll be coming back with more information on that so that we can try to stay current with what the rates are moving forward. So I'll be coming to the board after the first of the year on that. In fire prevention, our new fire prevention officer, which we swore in a couple of weeks ago, has been accepted into the Fire Prevention Officer 1 class. It's an 80-hour class, of which 1 week of it is done at the academy. The other week is done self-directed study. This will get him credentialed to the NFPA standard 1031, which is the professional qualification for fire inspector and plan examiner for Fire Inspector 1. So we're very excited that he was able to get into that program, and we look forward to him completing it. And the budget, no issues at this time. However, I am watching it carefully as a couple of things have happened. Our new hires that we hired this past summer are in the process of getting their paramedic. They will not be going to the fire academy until December, so they're not on shift until then. So it creates a little bit of issues with our staffing. So we are watching it closely. I keep Jim abreast of it as needed, and so far, so good. Over the past 3 months, we've been working extensively on our capital project, and the capital has gone and had been vetted out with the Capital Budget Committee as well as the Finance Committee. In that capital request, the biggest thing is that there's 2 engines that we've asked for. Originally, it was going to be 1, but we've had problems with one of our engines, and we also wrote the AFG grant, as you remember, that I came before the board about 9 months ago for. That grant was actually accepted, and working with Jim, we've got 2 engines on the docket, one which will be paid for by the federal government. We got a grant for $545,454.55. We have to do a 10% match, which is $54,000, and then we have to make up another $60,000 or so to buy that truck. And then the other truck, and we've got some discounts because we're buying 2. We got about a $40,000 discount because of that. So I can't say enough about it, and I would mention this in the grant section specifically, but Deputy Barry wrote the grant for the AFG, and his hard work paid off. So I just like to make a mention of it, that it was because of his efforts that we were able to obtain this grant. Some of the other things that we have on the capital this year are turnout gear to get the rest of our members up to 2 sets of turnouts, as well as outfitting all of our new personnel. We're replacing our thermal cameras. We have a pickup to replace the 1991 pickup that we have that really isn't road safe at this point. UPS batteries, which is the backup battery system for all of the technology that we have at the main fire station, and some additional portable radios. Another grant that we also put in for was the SAFER grant, which was for the 8 additional personnel. We have not heard on that grant as of yet. That grant has got a couple more weeks before it expires. We're hopeful, but we are running out of time as far as the grant process goes with the awards that have been given. On training, we're currently doing the EMTs this year and the EMS refresher. That's a 20-hour refresher that's due every 2 years. We alternate years with EMTs 1 year, paramedics the other year. This year happens to be the EMTs. And we continue with our regular training of personnel on a daily basis. They get issued training drills for the month, and they have to perform those drills, and that continues, as well as driver training. So they're very active and very on spot with that. Personnel, as I mentioned, we hired new hires over the summer: Erica Thomas, Chris Luongo, Sean Sarney, and Brad Harrison, and they will be going to the academy on December 20th and graduating on March 4th. And injuries, we have 1 long-term injury. Unfortunately, it does not look like that individual will be able to return. We're working through the process right now, And I will keep the board and Jim up to speed as developments progress with that. So I'll entertain any questions that you may have.
I'd start with a comment. I noticed that it was in our packet a couple weeks ago that the state approved the rebuilding of Norwood Hospital, and they can spend up to, I think the number was $370 million. So,
That's good news.
yeah, so, I haven't heard anything else, but, it would be good for people to know that will happen.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything, so.
Okay.
I've heard that rumor of 300+ thousand,
Million, yeah.
but nothing from any of our circles. I guess.
Okay. It's unbelievable how much damage happened up there with that, flood, so
Absolutely.
I'm glad they're gonna rebuild it. And I know it will still take a couple of years before it's a viable again, so.
Yeah, our information also said the ER will be first, which will be the most helpful to us.
Okay. That's good news.
Yeah.
Can I just piggyback on that? 'Cause
Sure.
that sort of ties in with the ambulance conversation, and obviously your runs are much longer now that you don't have Norwood as an option, and that'll be the case for, I guess, 2 years, and 2 can turn into 3 and more pretty easily with delays. So I'm just kind of making the comment, the observation that there clearly is a challenge for you to have to run to Brockton and Needham, Boston, wherever you need to take people. And how are you handling that challenge? I mean, I think I know the answer. You're probably handling it as best you can, but,
We handle each call as it comes in, and we rely on our mutual aid partners for a lot of our ambulance runs.
How does it affect your, the ambulance putting on a lot more mileage, your guys being out of town for longer periods of
So it is
time?
more wear and tear on the ambulances. It also takes away my personnel, because we cross-staff the other fire trucks for our other calls, so it definitely has an impact.
Yeah, it's a concern for me too, and you share with other towns, so if your ambulance is out of town, there's coverage.
Correct. So our mutual aid numbers are in the hundreds for both given and received. We've lost about 150 ambulance runs this year to other towns having to come in and take care of those ambulance runs. But vice versa, we've gone out and done ambulance runs in their community, which we also bill for. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a push-pull.
Yeah, and this will lend itself to the conversation about the rates, which we'll have, you said at a future meeting, or?
Yes, after the first of the year, I'll know what the Medicare is for next year, what the allowances are, so, and that's what they base it off of, so.
All right, thanks, Chief. And can I just follow up real quick on the East Walpole Fire Station? I think I heard you mention that you were looking, or maybe one of these engines that you're purchasing is for East Walpole? I know you have a certain size restrictions over there.
Yeah, so we have serious size limitations for East Walpole. The 2 engines that I was looking to replace both fit into that station, and these will as well. They'll be made to fit into that.
Good.
However, with the grant, there was a stipulation that we have to get rid of we can no longer use the 1985 Mac, which is the E1. It's the oldest of the engines. Right now, it's up in Station 3 because I don't have room downtown for it. We store it up there right now. That truck has to be taken out of emergency service. So, talking with Jim the other day, it looks like we're going to do the 1985 Mac and the 2009 E1 as the 2 that we get rid of for the other 2, and hold on to the 99 as our spare. Even though it's gonna be 25 years old in a couple more years, it's still, it's serviceable, so.
Sounds like some shuffling going on. And just one more follow-up on the East Walpole Station. Is there anything else that, I know we talked about, excuse me, getting the station up and running? I mean, it's been up and running, but keeping it on a more permanent basis. Are there any other challenges? I think I heard something about the roof at one point, maybe the filtration.
Yes, there's been some issues with the roof and some leaks, and building maintenance is on top of that. They are working on that as we speak.
Okay.
Trying to work through that, so.
Good.
There's some other limitations to the station, but those are conversations for another day.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Jim?
Yeah, I got a couple of questions. So I want to, first of all, congratulate you on the great job on the grants. I mean, it's just unbelievably good work, and makes a huge, huge difference. Coupled with very smart thinking about buying the 2 trucks in the same year, getting the $40,000 discount, which will offset a big chunk of that $60,000 that you said we have to come up with in addition. So really good planning there. the grants, the planning, taking advantage of discounts. I mean, that's exactly the kind of stuff that I personally really like to hear about, so great job on that. Capacity, so your number of runs are way up. Question that I have as I listen to you is, at what point does that number get so big that even with everybody here in town, you know, so you don't have people out on runs or anything like that, but where you can't cover the additional runs and would have to then rely more on mutual aid to support those, because the volume has gone up so much?
So we're already at that point,
You are.
and we try to, we always get someone there.
Yeah,
It may not be what the complement should be for that particular call, but we will always get someone there, and we will call in resources as needed to fill out that rest of that assignment. So we also recall our own personnel, and that is on the increase as well. So we put on group recalls and box 31s, depending on what the situation is. So the problem with that is getting people to come back is always tricky. It's a gamble.
well, you're also into overtime, right?
It's
So-
an overtime,
So the
yes,
costs go up. So I guess for a future meeting, I'd love to hear some discussion on, excuse me, what it's gonna take to properly size the department, people, equipment, the whole routine, to handle these increasing volumes that you're seeing. And I'd also be interested in any kind of projections that you might have in terms of what's gonna happen to volumes over time. You know, we continue to build large buildings in town, and a lot of other development going on, so it feels as though the pressure on the department's gonna continue to go up, and I'd just like to hear your thinking on that from a strategic planning point of view.
Sure.
Okay. And then the final thing, inspections. I think you said you've done 2,700 of them year-to-date, or some number like that, big number. How does that number compare to, and maybe not even so much last year because of COVID, but maybe the year before? Is it much higher, is it the same?
It is higher.
Yeah,
And again, attributable to Deputy Barry
Yeah.
and his record keeping and just the volume of work that we've had coming in. He's trying to get it turned around as fast as possible. Now that we have Lieutenant Abramovitz on board with us, that'll help. And we're already seeing an impact, because he handled a lot of the fire drills last week with the school reopening.
yeah.
He's been helping the deputy with the school inspections, so that'll only get better as time moves on.
Because I remember a couple of years ago, we had a fair backlog of inspections, and with the volume going up, you know, I'm just concerned about our ability to keep up with the inspections.
So we utilize our on-duty shift strength as well,
Okay.
to offset some of those. So we will get them done. It's the plan reviews and all these projects that all come in all at once, and as it's been the last 2 years, those take a lot of time to review and to vet out. The deputy works extremely closely with the building department on a daily basis, and they vet everything out. So it just takes time, and then everything has to be put into letter format or memo format, and there's a lot of back and forth with the developers, so just time consuming.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Chief, and thanks to Deputy Barry as well. You guys are doing a great job staying on top of, you know, a continuously demanding situation, and really appreciate all the good work you do for the town, you and your team.
Thank you, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that the whole reason that we got to the 2 engines was really because of Jim. I went to Jim with a vision of possibly moving 2 engines onto the Capitol this year as opposed to holding off 2 years. And at first, he looked at me like I was crazy. But the trucks are going up at an astronomical rate. From when we purchased the last ones to purchasing this one. And that's projected to go even higher, with increases that were normally 2 to 5% in any given year to being up as high as 10% per year over the next 2 years. So that was the reason that I put the bug in his ear, and then he was gracious enough to make it happen. So I don't want to be remiss in not mentioning that.
Yeah, thanks. Great job, and good thinking.
140,000 is a
Yeah.
tough pill to swallow.
Yeah,
We're gonna
yeah.
do it anyways.
Yeah, okay.
Nancy, any questions or comments? I would just make a comment. I agree with Jim, and I know we've talked about staffing, you know, over the past few years, and I think that would be good to schedule sometime this fall, maybe right after town meeting. Have a discussion about staffing and future vision of both police and fire, take another crack at that. I know, I'm glad we've got some new firefighter paramedics that will be coming on board. I think you just said it was going to be March before they're active, and we should be thinking about, what's going to happen after that, and, be as proactive as we can be about identifying, when we're ready to bring more people on and then getting that process started, because there is such a lag time between the time you hire and the time that they're really available to be on shift, so.
Yes, thank you. We would welcome that, so.
Okay.
Good.
Great.
Great,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Next up, Town Clerk Liz Gaffey. Discussion and vote on early voting schedule for November 2nd, special election. Welcome, Liz.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, the board. I'm here tonight because I believe in your packages, you were given information about how the legislatures have extended early voting to December 15th, and to include local municipal elections. So with the special town election coming on November 2nd, I was interested in requesting and recommending early voting for the November 2nd election. In there, I told you the dates that I was looking for. I was looking for starting Monday, October 25th, and running to Friday, October 29th. That this will offer 3 types of voting: vote by mail, also absentee, early voting in person, and then election day voting. So that gives them about 3.5 weeks of voting. So the hours that I was looking to do were Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 9 to 3, Tuesday, 9 to 7, and Friday, 9 to 11. That would be 30 hours of the 35-hour work week that we're open to do the voting. So I would have it here at the town hall in this main meeting room, which is where we usually have the early voting. So, and I need, to you guys to agree to that, take a vote, if that's what you're looking to do.
I mean, I'll start off. I just think the more options we can give people to vote, the better. And the more, I like the early voting. I know a lot of people like to be able to come in, in their lunch hour or when it's easy for them, rather than having to come in on election day when they may have something else going on. So I think that's great. I also, you and I talked, and you mentioned election day hours are going to be 8 to 8.
8 to 8, so it'll be 12 hours.
Which is great. Gives people 12 hours to
It'll give them 12 hours
find
on
a
that
time.
day. This will avoid them absentee voting at the counter. I think people have gotten very used to, the state does run all their elections as early voting too. So I think it's something they've gotten used to, and I think this is something that'll help. I expect a big turnout for this. So I think this would help with the flow of the traffic for that.
All right, let me see if anybody else has any questions.
I have
Go ahead.
questions just about how some of these things work, and maybe it's for people, maybe some of it's for me, but people watching too. So the vote by mail is you have to request it by a certain deadline. You mail a ballot to somebody, they mail it back to you?
Well, yes, exactly.
Or they bring it in?
They can bring it in, they can drop it in the drop box, which we're having rehabbed at the moment, so it'll be pretty out there. So they can bring it in, and they can mail it back. But yes, they do have to request it.
And that, is there a certain time when they can start doing that? Is it after we vote tonight, or is there a certain day when
We'd
that
usually
begins?
start that about 3 weeks before the election.
And they can call you, or they can email you?
I
or
need it
they-
in writing.
They need it in
I
writing?
need it in
So either in person, or they can send a letter
Right,
requesting
you can,
ballot.
you could come in and just fill out a piece of paper that you want it. We have an application. You can also do it on any paper that they have at home if they want to mail it in, and just give us an address to mail it to.
That's awesome. And the other-
It's just about checking signatures.
No, that's great, yeah. And the other option is to show up in Town Hall at the clerk's office on the week before November 2nd, and they can vote on the spot.
They can vote in here.
Early
They would
voting.
check in like you do at a
Oh, in
polling
here.
location.
Oh, okay.
Yep, we will set it up here in the main meeting room.
Yep.
They will come in, they'll check in, they'll get their ballot, vote, and then check out, just like you do at the polls.
You'll have everything.
We'll have
set
it
up.
all set up in here, exactly.
And is there an option to vote at the clerk's window? Is that absentee voting, or how does?
That's why we're going to do the early voting in person.
Pardon?
That's why we're going to do the early voting in
Okay.
person.
Instead, yeah.
For the privacy, so that you're not at the counter.
Sure.
Also to conduct our regular business during the election time. They can, that's why if I have early voting in person, that'll eliminate them trying to vote at the counter.
Gotcha, yeah, that sounds great. And then the day of, people will vote at their regular precincts.
At their polling, at their polling
8 to
locations. 8 to 8.
not here, not at Town Hall.
No, yeah.
Clarifying.
We have to close the business day before the business day before the election.
Got it.
If you can
Yeah.
figure that all out, it's pretty,
Thanks for organizing all that.
not a problem.
Any other comments or questions? Nancy, you?
No, I was gonna make a motion.
Sure, please.
I will make a motion to accept the early voting schedule as presented in our packet.
I'll second that. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Liz.
I thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
With the time being after 7:35, we have interview and vote to appoint zoning board of appeals associate members. We have 3 open positions. The way we'll do it is we'll give each of you a couple of minutes to talk about why you'd be a good candidate to be on the zoning board of appeals. We may or may not have questions, and then we have like a little ballot made up, so each of us will vote on the 3 members that would like to see appointed. We'll tally them up, and that's where we'll go.
Really?
Yeah. Don't you have a ballot?
Oh, maybe I do. There's 3 appointments. I thought we usually just voted the individual names.
Well, we have 4 people for 3
Right.
positions.
Because, so this is almost like ranking them in a way, tallying, as
No, I
opposed
mean,
to.
we've done this before. Just check off the 3 you want. We'll add them up.
I just don't recall doing it for
Okay.
our.
Natalia is on Zoom as well, so whenever you want to
Okay.
her in, I can just let her know.
Sure. How about, let's go in the order they're in our packet. So why don't we start with Mark Major? Welcome, Mark.
Hello. Thanks for having me, board,
Sure.
chair. Mark Major. I've lived in Walpole for about 8 years with my family. I have a wife and 3 little kids, and kind of wasn't really familiar with what the zoning board was and kind of what role it played in the town until I got involved about a little over a year ago as a result of the 55 Summer Street development, and joined a lot of the calls on Zoom mostly. Just kind of learned a lot throughout that process, and despite my feelings on that project, I thought the way that the zoning board conducted itself and how it, the impact that it had on the town and kind of the way that it really contributed to kind of how the town would grow and the future of the town, and trying to weave in things like affordable housing and some of the other challenges that we see and deal with today. I thought it would be, really an interesting thing to be a part of. I've also been looking for ways where I could kind of get more involved in the town and see how it runs, and kind of just saw how an opportunity came up here with a few open roles, and decided I would throw my hat in the pile and see what I could do. Personally, I work for a consulting company in Boston, and most of my job is negotiating procurement for them. So deal with a lot of vendors and contracts and things like that. So kind of have a little bit of that background that I can, I think, apply. And while I don't have too much on the kind of real estate and the construction side, I think I'm a quick study and often find myself in new areas and picking things up pretty quickly. So I think I could definitely contribute, and would look forward to that opportunity. So I appreciate your consideration of my application. Any questions?
Any questions for Mark? Nope. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
How about next, Tim Hegler? Welcome.
Good evening. My name's Tim Hegler. Married, recently retired, lifelong resident of Walpole. Worked 37 years in the automotive industry before retiring, and it was 6 days a week. So I really didn't have much time to give back to the town that I've grown up in and love and enjoy. So retired now, thought, hey, you know what, I want to get involved. And I'm very interested to see how the town moves forward with growth, protecting our green spaces, just everything that goes into as the town moves forward. What else can I tell you? I guess that's about it. Any questions?
Any questions for Tim? No. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks.
Why don't we do Judy next, since she's in the room, and then we'll go to Zoom for Natalia. Welcome, Judy.
I don't like Zoom. I was going to be camping tonight and I didn't think I could do a Zoom, so
From the
I
campground.
changed my plans.
Good choice.
I'm Judy Conroy. I've been a lifelong resident of Walpole. Five kids gone through the Walpole schools, 2 grandchildren currently in Walpole. My past service to the town, I've been on the school committee, I served on the Board of Selectmen, was active with Chamber of Commerce, Food Pantry, town meeting, and I recently retired from running my physical therapy practice in Walpole for 35 years. So I now have a boatload of time, aside from watching the 2 granddaughters. My time management skills are still sharp. I was just recently elected to the Housing Authority, and that's a 5-year commitment, and I'm very interested and very dedicated to that. But when I saw the opening on the associate member in the ZBA, thought that was kind of an interesting thing. I know that it's a board that makes decisions, and in my past experience in service to the town, I've made a lot of big decisions, some wonderful. I think my best one was to bring forward the Elm Street School project, to buy the Christian Life Center, and yada, yada, yada. That was my thing. I think that's probably one of my biggest accomplishments almost in life, except for training and finishing my first Boston Marathon.
Wow.
That goes along with that. Anyway, I know the board makes a lot of decisions, as I said, and to every board, I've brought my dedication. I brought my ability to think outside the box. I am a good communicator. I ask questions. I do my homework, and I really believe that I do make good decisions. And as the zoning board is a decision-making board, I think that my experience in that area would be an asset to the board. So, as I said, I've been retired. I have the time. I don't know how I fit all that in my prior life when my kids were little, but I guess I did. So, but now I think I will, I do have the time to serve, so I would like to.
Great. Any questions for Judy?
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
And next, I see Natalia's on the screen right now. Welcome.
Yeah. Thank you. Just let me know, please, if you have any issues of hearing me or seeing me. First and foremost, thanks for accommodating the virtual Zoom call. As I explained, I'm currently out of state for work, and it was impossible to get back in time. I, like the last few people, I'm also a lifelong resident of Walpole, Massachusetts. And a little bit about me. My last name's Orlando. I certainly have a very well-known family in town. There's certainly a lot of us. Everywhere I go, everyone's like, oh, how are you related to so-and-so or this person or that person? My grandparent, both of my parents are townies as well. We still own real estate in town, as well as on Main Street and East Walpole as well. Educational background, undergrad in history and sociology from Framingham State, and I have a graduate degree in political strategy and communication from Brussels School of International Studies in Brussels, Belgium. I'm also a notary public and a licensed realtor, and I have a notary and signing agency that I live in Walpole and based in Walpole, and I have an office out of the house. So my interest in joining the ZBA has come from the fact that I've always been very politically active. I was on the student government in undergrad and graduate school. I've actually worked extensively in politics on congressional presidential campaigns nationwide. I've also worked campaigns on the state level for gubernatorial race, as well as on some local races. And what makes it probably interesting, my background is I've been on the other side of the ZBA where I have, I've also been involved in just a little more relevancy to this. I worked for an investment banking firm. I was involved in structuring a lot of different deals. Some of them involved commercial, residential properties. So I used to have to go before the ZBA in multiple towns throughout the state of Massachusetts. So I'm well acquainted with how it works. I was always, I'm very used to the zoning laws. and the rules. I became well acquainted with it. So that really, I always had that interest, and that certainly piqued my interest even more and kind of brought it, over the edge in that regard. So I saw that there was this opportunity, and I had, like I said, I started on the website, so I'd submitted the application, and as well as I believe a copy of my most recent resume, and I figured I'd see how it went.
Glenn, any questions? No. Thank you. So before we vote, I'll just make the comment that I think all four of you would do a good job on the ZBA. We unfortunately have 3 open associate positions, so I would encourage whoever doesn't get voted in to find other ways to help out in the town. There's lots of boards that will need people year to year. And what I always normally say is one of the things that I think makes Walpole a great town is the number of people who do volunteer and are active in the community. And I think that is one of the things that makes Walpole unique in many ways compared to other towns. We have a lot of volunteers. So I would ask each of the members to identify who you'd like to select, and then we'll tally them up and know who we're going to appoint. Does that make sense?
I guess it makes sense. It seems out of character. We have 3 open spots. We usually just, make a motion, make us, run through a vote for each of the 3 spots. This is kind of like ranking.
Well, yeah, I think we should identify the 3 people who get the most votes, so let's do that, right?
I'm going to disagree with it, but I guess
Okay.
you're the chair.
All right.
It's not what we normally do.
Sure.
Can I borrow your pen?
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Of course.
So do we have to be public with our vote, or can I just take the sheets and tally them up? I just don't remember.
I would think it would need to be, like, who got how many votes,
Yeah, I
at
think
least.
definitely tally how many got.
Okay. So why don't I just ask each person who you're gonna vote for, and I'll keep a tally, and Aoife can keep a tally and keep me honest. Glenn?
I have, again, difficult decision to make here. I have Mark Major, I have Tim Hegler, and I have Natalia Orlando.
Ben?
Yeah, I'm sticking with the way we usually do it in chronological order, how the applications are received, just because that seems to be the most fair way, given that all 4 candidates are definitely qualified. So I put Mark Major, Tim Hegler, and Natalia Orlando.
Jim?
I've got Mark Major, Tim Hagler, and Judy Conroy.
Nancy?
I have Judy Conroy, Tim Hagler, and then I was abstaining.
Okay. So Tim Hegler has 5 votes, so Tim, and then we have Mark Major, who has 4 votes, and Judy Conroy with 3 votes. So we'll appoint, so I'll make a motion to appoint, I'll do them together. I'll make a motion to appoint Mark Major, Tim Hegler, and Judy Conroy as associate members to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Second?
So motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all for volunteering. You'll get a letter from the board, and then you'll have to get sworn in at the clerk's office.
Yes,
So-
if you want to attend, so the ZBA is meeting tomorrow night, so just to make sure that I'll email them tomorrow morning, but just they'll have to get sworn in at the town clerk's office if they do plan on attending the meeting tomorrow night.
So did you all hear that? She'll email you a letter in the morning. If you bring it in, you can get sworn in tomorrow before the ZBA meeting. So,
Am I?
thank you.
Stealing my pen.
Yeah, you don't have to stay for the rest of this meeting, so.
Yours is still pending?
Yeah, we can.
Next up, with the time being after 7:50, do we have anybody here for open forum? Please come up, Bill. Bill, you know the rule. You got 3 minutes to give us your comments, and we generally can't respond due to open meeting law because it's not on the agenda, so we can follow up, though.
Okay, Hamilton Precinct, RTM Precinct 5. Excuse me. I'm just here for the safety issue at the Summer Street ground crossing with the MBTA. The MBTA was going to make it safe by a bare bones train stop on each side of the tracks. So the train would always come to a stop before crossing Summer Street. There were some problems with that. I was not told what, and I understand that that's not going to happen. Now, the only other solution that's very affordable is to put concrete barriers on both sides of the tracks, making Summer Street a dead end when you're traveling east or west. This would cause the children in South Walpole to take longer rides, either by bus or by car, to the Elm Street School. Fire, police, and medical response times would increase. Mutual aid options would suffer. Fire insurance rates may increase. As road commissioners, you must tell the South Walpole residents how the MBTA chief safety engineer plans to solve this safety issue, because it's very important. And I was told I would be put on the agenda to discuss the safety at the crossing by a former chairman who fled to the Cape Cod, Eric.
Again, I don't know anything about that, so.
Oh, I thought you were present when he promised.
I don't remember that, Bill, sorry. Any other, are you all done with your statement?
Yeah, I'm all done. I've heard innuendo that people on the Board of Selectmen were present at the crossing when the gates didn't come down.
Again, I don't know anything about that, so thanks for your comments, and feel free to reach out to Jim if
And
you
as
want
a,
to follow up.
just
Nancy?
a point of reference, being a past selectman, you know that future, past boards can't tie future boards to any decisions. So if a past chairman did tell you that you would be on an agenda at some point, it would have to be during their tenure, because a future board is never tied to
Oh,
a
no,
past board.
I hear you. But I would like to be on the agenda to discuss the safety.
Okay, thanks for your
That's a
comments.
request. Thank you.
Next up, new business, stadium event parking lot license requests. Jim or Aoife?
Sure. Sorry, I was thinking of that. Couple requests here. For 93 Summer Street, 60 Schufelt, 8 Water, and 9 Water. Mike's worked with these applicants, reviewed them, along with Deputy Chief Barry, Chief Kelleher, and Lieutenant Kilroy, and is ready for approval on these spots here.
Mike, are you happy with the plans? I assume you are, so.
Yes, it's gone pretty well. I'll try to be brief, but it's gone pretty well. We were out there over the weekend. Deputy Commissioner Crowley and Bob Dugan were out there, and it's gone well. This is again, I'll say it, this is a petitioner, a citizen petition that made it through with some technical resistance, but they stuck with it, and it's come through to fruition. And we've been out there meeting with all of these applicants on their property, talking over the situation, and everyone's been very receptive. Unfortunately, we do have 3 lots that were operating without a license. One had 44 vehicles in it. We reached out to that owner today, who is well aware of the licensing situation, and we'll be dealing with that. I'm sure you'll hear about it shortly. But other than that, it's gone great. Everyone's been compliant, and we've reduced some of these asks, and not much resistance. So it's gone well. So far, so good, and we'll keep rolling along with it. So.
Please, yep.
Okay, can you give us, like, how they fill out the application, like a 2-minute version, and what I know you kind of said you go out on site and stuff.
Sure.
Just so that all the neighbors can kind of hear.
Absolutely.
And then, do you include the neighbors? Go ahead.
So, there's no outreach or there's no notification of an application. It's anybody within that radius that we allowed for the stadium parking can go ahead and apply. It's a limited site plan, and what that involves is police, fire, and building. It's been narrowed down to review the application, and then we make suggestions based on the available area on the lot, and then based on also the regulations. So this year, there's no double parking. You can't stack cars. There's no backing out onto Water Street or whatever street it may be. So everyone's been fairly compliant in that respect. As far as the application, I won't go too far into our electronic application portal, but it's been fantastic. Just a little side note, we've increased building permits by almost 1,000 so far this year. We're 1,000 permits to this point this year ahead of where we were last year. So the same portal is for licensing applications through the Selectman's office and also through the Board of Health, who's entirely online. So the application is available to everybody. They do not even have to come to the building department, other than maybe to drop off some paperwork or some peripheral documentation. So they go online, they file the application, we get it electronically. We usually same day. If we see it pop up on the screen, we're out there, we take a look at the site, we come back, we enter our comments, we speak with the fire and police department, accommodate those into the application request, forward it off to the selectman's office, we put it in the letter form, and it comes to you with the recommendation for the number of spots. We do communicate with the applicant after we make the site visit to let them know what we found and how many spots we believe that they can fit. And from there, you know, sometimes they show up, sometimes they don't, but they get notification that their license is ready based on your vote.
Great, and then, do you, just because these have been asked of me, do you take into account wetlands and people's septic systems?
We do. So in the regulations, there's no parking on or within wetlands, and there's no parking on septic systems. We've even regulated, you used to have people parking up against with the bumper on gas meters and electric meters and whatnot. So we've taken all of this into account to make sure that we get the best possible situation without any hazards to the people parking as well as the people who own the homes.
Awesome, and then just, Jim, years ago when we wanted that software.
Yeah. Capital budget, they got it for us.
Yep. That's it. Just questions that I'd been asked, so I just figured you could just.
Right, yeah, and anybody at home, that's why, if you have questions, call. We're receptive. We're constantly answering questions. We'll come out, we'll take a look. That's what we're there for. We have a great group down there, from the front desk staff to the inspectors. It's worked out great, so.
Okay, thank you.
Jim?
I'm good, thanks.
Ben? Glenn?
Nope, no questions.
And I would just make the comment, because I think you made it last time, if anybody sees an issue on game day or event day, they should just call it in.
Absolutely.
You guys somebody will go check it out, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of policing itself at this point, I'll say, because of the licensing scheme and now people are complying. It's policing itself. So there'll be problems, but it's going well.
That's good. Yep, it's great. Thank you.
Great.
I'll make a motion.
Sure.
I'll make a motion to approve stadium event parking lot licenses at 93 Summer Street with 26 spaces, 60 Shufelt Road with 19 spaces, 8 Water Street with 3 spaces, 9 Water Street with 15 spaces.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Next, the vote to sign the 2021 town meeting warrant. Jim, any comments before we?
No, we did have one last minute poll. The Water and Sewer Commissioners discussed the borrowing article. So it's only 17 articles at this point. Council's reviewed it, bond council's reviewed it. I've looked it over multiple times, so has EFA. It's good to go. Finance Committee has already acted on 11 articles already, so we're pretty good well ahead of the curve at this point, so plugging along.
So maybe at our next meeting, we can get a jump on that.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
That'd be great.
Yep.
Any other questions for Jim? Nancy?
I'll make a motion to sign the 2021 fall town meeting warrant.
Second.
For motion and second, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Discussion and vote to appoint select board representative to the master plan implementation committee. Glenn has volunteered to be our representative.
So moved.
Second.
I don't have to make my case or anything.
I know.
I'll pause before we vote. Glenn, is there anything you'd like to say?
No, I could say a lot of things about how important the master plan is, but it's important, it's integral, let's do it right, let's do it. So I'm on board.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I know you're gonna have to put some time in, and please feel free to pull us in or get us involved when there's issues or you think it's appropriate for us to weigh in on any issue that you see.
I'll do that.
Okay.
Thank you for being willing to do it.
Sure.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
That was awfully quick of you, Nancy.
I know how much work went into the last one.
Yeah, I know you do.
I think you'll do a great job, though.
All right, vote to award bid contract 2021-01 for the water treatment chemicals.
So moved?
I'll second it. Jim, any comments or discussion?
I think Rick's been hanging around just to make a comment. but
Rick, come on up.
Good to go, Rick.
I don't want to make a comment. You had any questions, but they're all the lowest qualified.
Yep.
Everything's in line, so. yeah.
Okay, we saw that in the packet, so. We have a motion. I made the second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We have a vote to accept the following board committee resignations. Kurt Tommy from the Housing Partnership
Or
Committee.
one more. I'll make a motion to award bid
sorry.
contract
Yep.
number 2022-02 catch basin cleaning to Roadway Maintenance Service, Inc. for a 3-year contract in the amount of $159,000.
Second.
Any comments by you?
Everything's in line.
Okay.
Can I just actually ask Rick a quick question?
Sure.
I'm always interested in stormwater management. Have we, do we do some of that in-house, or is that always usually contracted out, or is it a mixture?
We don't typically do the cleaning of the basins in-house.
Hey, Rick, would you come up to the microphone just so people at home, the vast TV audience can hear you?
We typically do not do the cleaning of the basins in-house for two reasons. The truck that we have is rather large, and secondly, we don't really have the resources.
A lot of them, yeah. That makes sense. Okay, great, no, I support it.
Thank you.
I have a question right after.
He was here, I figured I would ask him a question.
Go ahead.
Were we, did we finish voting?
No,
Because
we
it's
have a
not
motion
about
and a
this.
second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. So I just wanted to ask about the, do you keep an eye on the MWRA waste management numbers for COVID? Have you looked at them at all? Do you? And did you notice that they are up to what they were and actually just went ahead of what they were in March?
A little bit higher.
Yeah, I mean, but the good thing, I don't know if any of you guys watched that, is, I mean, some hospitalizations are starting to go up, but they're nothing what we saw in March. So, I mean, it does mean that people are getting it, they're processing it, and they're not getting as sick. So vaccines are working. So I didn't know if you transferred any of those data numbers out there, if anyone,
No, the MWRA.
other than people like me, watch that.
They send the information to us.
They send it over to you? Okay. All right, yeah, if you go onto the MWRA site and you just look up COVID, and they'll show you the graph, and you can see the spike, because they measure it based on north of Boston and south of Boston. And since, you know, a lot of us are MWRA, but, so, I mean, I'm not, you can see what the trend is doing and how it's coming out in the water. So, all right, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
All right.
Sorry, I didn't mean to jump the gun there a minute ago. Vote to accept the following board committee resignations. Kurt Tommy from the Housing Partnership Committee and Timothy Joyce from the Walpole Veterans Services Committee.
Make that motion, so moved, and thank them for their service.
Second?
Motion is second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'll make a motion to reappoint Gene Kenny and Rich McCarthy to the Walpole Media Corporation.
Second?
Motion is second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Nancy?
Is that gonna be for her? Is that for? Are you abstaining?
No,
don't know.
I was a yes.
Oh, you're a yes. Oh, okay. I thought you were on that.
I am.
Okay.
I should abstain. You're right.
You're
All
going to
right, I'm
abstain.
sorry.
4-0-1.
I'm sorry. I'm like, I know you did last time.
No, you're right.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. I will make a motion to approve a request of Al DiNapoli for a one-day wine and malt beverage license on October 16th, 2021, from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. as a part of the Uncommon Arts on the Common event.
Second.
So I did want to comment, Sarah had wanted to be here, but was held up and not available, so. So we have a motion to second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. And then just to reference, I don't know if any or every saw on Chronicle that Davino was, it was Chronicle, right? Yeah, Chronicle, that they had a little thing on it. What is it?
The feature.
A little
Or features.
feature, yeah, about their business on Route 1. So I just think that's kind of exciting that we're in Chronicle, or they were in Chronicle. And I'll make a motion to approve the request for Patricia Brandt, Landry's Bicycle, to use Adams Farm on September 22nd, 2021, from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. for an employee fun day.
Second.
So we have a motion to second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And officially, that address is Walpole, right, for Pier 1, where they were, Landry's?
No.
Oh, it's Norwood?
It's Norwood.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like right on, I think even like half of the McDonald's parking lot is in Norwood, and then the rest is, it's like weird the way
Yeah,
it
I know
splits across the
McDonald's was,
street.
but Landry, oh, I thought it maybe.
Because the Dunkin'
back.
Donuts is in Walpole, but I think then that
They're
side
not.
of the street is Norwood.
Gotcha. All right, and then, Glenn, did you want to do the consent agenda? Do you want me to do it?
No, you can do it.
Okay. I'll make a motion to accept with gratitude the following donations. The LaRusso family, in memory of Anna Silva, to the Council on Aging for $1,000. Peter and Victoria Musto, in memory of Anna Silva, for the Council on Aging, $100. Multiple donors for Recreation Smiling Eyes, financial assistance in the amount of $292.
Second.
So a motion to second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
With thanks. Minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of August 24th, 2021, as presented in our packet.
A second.
Motion to second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 I'll abstain, Mark.
Okay. 401. Jim, Town Administrator update?
Sure, just a few items here. Police chief search, we now have a full screening committee. The consultant and I are setting up a schedule as to how we will proceed with the screening committee. I expect that I'm gonna reach out to them towards the end of this week just to let them know what the process is. On our end, we're likely gonna meet with the screening committee, outline how many resumes were received, which ones are qualified, and then move forward with giving the qualified resumes out to them, whittling that list down to no more than 10 candidates to interview. Going forward, interviewing the 5 to 10 candidates, I expect, and then passing along the top 5 or 6 candidates for an assessment center, so you'll have a ranking. I'm leaning, I think, towards 6 in case 1 or 2 people back out, and then have anywhere from 3 to 5 or 6 candidates passed along to you for interview later on this fall. So we'll have everyone vetted before you meet with the finalists. So, on capital budget, they've met, they've gone through all the requests and made their recommendation to the Finance Committee last week. And the Finance Committee voted on all the recommendations last week. And as I said, they're going through the articles pretty quickly. Tomorrow night they meet for the second to last time until the public hearing. So Mark and Denny and Josette and that whole crew are doing a great job. We met at the Byrd Middle School last night. The whole most of the committee attended and asked a lot of great questions, so we're working through that. Speaking of middle school, your next meeting, the chairman and I have talked, we're going to hold it at the Johnson Middle School, probably at 6:30 on the 28th. There's a public outreach session at 7 o'clock. We're going to try to keep the agenda as light as possible so we can go into that afterwards. And Walpole Cable will be there, so it'll be more or less a seamless transition. So just a heads up to you on that one. And lastly, but probably the most important one on the TA update. Members may recall that I mentioned in the past that we're still feeling our way through the ARPA, which is the American Recovery Act funds. Jody's found a firm that's agreed to work with us to provide some consulting services in relation to what we can and cannot spend money on. So that way there's no question marks on our end. We're going to vet those projects that we have in mind before we present them to you for your consideration. So I more or less just wanted to let you know that's the route we're going to go in. It's not a contract I need the board to award because they're going to, their fee is based on an actual time and expenses incurred, so they'll basically bill us as they go, similar to what our town council does. So I'm really happy with this. I've been looking for a firm that will take this on because I don't want to do something wrong when it comes to spending these funds and have it 2-3 years down the line realize that you couldn't have bought a new desk with it or something like that. So I'm happy to report to the board on that one. So once we work with them and figure out a game plan with the county, we had a brief meeting with them earlier this week. Their portal is going to open in a couple of weeks where we can start to get the requests in. We'll be presenting some projects to your board for consideration. I want to make sure everything falls within what's allowed: sewer and water infrastructure, IT infrastructure, if other guidelines that are out there. So I'll make sure to keep the board updated, and We have a lot of projects in mind. Rick and I have been working on it, and along with Scott and Mike Donovan in IT. So we'll present a big list of projects to you, and hopefully get a lot of those projects underway in the near future. We do have multiple years to spend this money, so it's not like use it or lose it by 23. I think we have until at least 24, possibly 25. They'll probably end up granting an extension on it too. I wouldn't be surprised. So we're moving forward with that. So just wanted to let you know. I also gave you a copy of the engagement letter that was provided to Jody at the end of August. So if you have any questions, let me know. If you object to this, let me know too. But I see all of you shaking your heads, so I guess you're on board with it. So,
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me go to Ben first.
I start at the end.
I'm okay right now.
You're good?
Yeah.
You had your hand up, so.
Is there like a not to exceed, or like what's the expected going to the consultant for the ARPA funds? Is there like an expected?
we don't know because
Yeah.
there is a cost structure here, 200 for a partner,
Right.
it's 175.
Okay.
Jody and I will closely monitor this thing. You know, if it's my understanding we can build this to ARPA too, so it won't be
Okay.
coming out of town funds, but
Okay.
obviously I don't want to be spending a lot of time with consultants. My plan is
Yeah.
to have everyone in the same room on the department head side, say, these are the 10 projects we want to identify before we present it to the board.
Yeah.
Vet them for us. If it's a playground or something and they say that doesn't qualify, we'll automatically take that out before presenting it.
Oh, I
to
get,
you.
yeah, so give them specific tasks
Yeah.
for review and for them.
Yeah.
Okay, no, that sounds good, I'm on board with that. And then the police chief search, what, if you could say, and what is the name, we have the screening committee and the consultant, and then what's the other group that has to vet them?
It's the assessment center.
The assessment center, thank
Yeah.
you. And how
And they're a
many,
professional firm. We recently did one for the fire department.
Right.
We had a bunch of retired fire chiefs who were in the building. They
Yeah.
brought those candidates, and we've done it before with the police side too, through a series of situations. They'll take up this room, they'll take up all the rooms in town hall,
Yeah.
and put them before a board, like they'll act as if they're the select board, give them a scenario that's maybe, before the town, how would you handle this? You have an hour to address the media, public relations side of it, write a position paper in another room. So it's very rigorous, and they have to wrap everything up within a day, so.
okay, and how many people ended up on the screening committee then?
11.
11?
Each select board gave me a member, and then we have
Yep.
some department heads.
Thanks, Jim.
Nancy?
Just that I appreciate that you had reached out to all the other communities kind of around us and then passed that information on to us. Going back to the funds.
Yeah.
So it was interesting for us to get that information, just kind of see that, other towns are wondering what to do and how to spend this money, and to see who was kind of thinking of what. And I totally agree, getting somebody that is going to be versed on this to be helping us. And it seems like that's what other towns were doing too. so.
Foxborough's doing it,
Yeah.
Norwood and I talked this week, and he's doing it too, so everyone's gonna fall in line, and then I'm getting a firm, I'm sure.
Mm.
As a follow-up to that, I mean, I've read the bill that sort of talked about what you can and can't do. Have they published any other documents?
No, they haven't.
Okay,
They
'cause the bill
published
was
the
pretty-
guidelines were provided to the board, which is vague.
Yeah,
you
it was
know.
very vague.
Yeah.
That's how you want your
Okay.
votes.
If they do publish anything better,
Yeah.
maybe you could give it to all of us on the board. I'm in favor of not going too fast. I do like the idea of treating it in tranches or phases, like, let's take a look at some projects and approve them, and then let's think, about the next batch, because we're not in a rush.
The local government, or like the ICMA, who you folks had in, I think before Glenn started, they hosted an online course that Patrick and I both took. MAPC is doing one, I think this week or next. So we're signing up for as many online Zoom classes that we can take, just to kind of get a sense, myself, Patrick, Jody, Lisa, of what we can do. But if anything else comes up, I'll definitely share.
Okay, thanks. Jim?
Yeah, so I'm glad you're doing that. I have been getting a lot of questions from people and a lot of suggestions too, which may be good, may be bad. I can't tell, because we're not clear on what the rules are here. So I think it's really helpful to get a point of view that's external to the town, so we don't have any biases introduced, and get some good guidance. The go slow approach makes sense to me as well. let's just do a good job on it and make sure that we don't end up having to unwind something 2 years from now.
For sure.
That's the big deal. Thanks.
I would just say I am disappointed in the legislation that it can't be used for buildings and roads and sidewalks and parking lots and all of the other infrastructure that every town has. So just my frustration as I read the bill, I went back and reread it in like, okay, nothing about buildings, nothing about roads, you know, just sidewalks. So it was very interesting that they only picked certain areas to focus on, so.
Plenty of projects in Walpole that we'll get to. The Sewer and Water Commissioners last night advocated for some of their projects, and I said there'll be a time and place for you to come before the board. So, okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions for Jim? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody, for watching.